owner of Salazar, Mitas, and Goose and Elder in Cincinnati, Ohio. My friend, really good to see you this morning.
It's a pleasure, man. Represent Cincinnati. You got the Ryan Guy shirt on?
I got the Ryan Guy shirt on. I'm Cincy strong today. I wanted to show some love. It was this or the Mad Tree shirt, both breweries
both good.
Both high quality. They were amazing when we were out there visiting, showed us some hospitality when we were in the OTR.
Fermented H2O.
That's it, man. That is exactly it. So, yeah, when we were out there in Cincinnati, had an amazing time. Brandon Muncie and I came out, did a dinner with you at Salazar. We did a cool little event at Ryan Guys. We did a collab beer with Ryan Guys, which was super fun. You guys showed us a lot of hospitality. I was really impressed with the whole scene in Cincinnati. And there was just like a vibe there that was really, really cool. A lot of people just knew each other, took care of each other, all the places you took us to. There was just like a La Familia kind of thing going on. So I'm not surprised we're going to be talking about some of the efforts that you're doing to really support the community. So I'm excited about that. Take everyone back a little bit. Ohio was really the first state that we saw start to shut down restaurants. The first places I saw social distancing in a lot of the press conferences. So take us back to that moment when you realized like shit was really hitting the fan and it was going to have a major impact on you and your people.
Yeah, man. Governor DeWine is, I think, one of the leaders in the country right now. The governor of Ohio. He's, him and his medical team are on it, man. Like they're really like ahead of the game. And I think if a lot of other states followed their lead, country would be in a better place right now, for sure. There was word of it coming down, a few days in advance. So I don't know that anybody was like shocked, right? You know what I mean? There's always like rumors, like it could be, they could do this or they could do that. But certainly he, like I said, he didn't hesitate. He was like, all right, this shit, we need to do something now. And so we were obviously like distraught because that means, a bunch of people are out of work and, there's all kinds of uncertainty that comes with that. But at the same time, I think everyone's like, okay, he's doing what is best for the state.
Yeah, I know, and that's a shock. And at first, it's like, well, this is going to blow over. It might not be as bad as we think. I'm not going to have to necessarily lay off all my people. I'm sure to go, we can do a big business, but it's hard. It's a challenge. There's a lot of struggle in managing all that. So tell us, how many staff do you have between the three restaurants?
So we have about 96, and yeah, it was that. I mean, that's the most devastating part, right? I mean, you feel an obligation to them, like almost like a parent, right? Like you're letting them down. So that's definitely the most challenging part of it.
And so talk about those early conversations. I mean, that's not an easy conversation. You're furloughing or laid off or whatever the terminology you want to use. People are out of work. They're being sent home. That's a struggle. I know leadership is an important thing to you. So I'm sure that conversation was both hard and also important to have.
The challenge that we had was getting everybody the information, and so what we planned was to have a meeting, an all staff meeting at Mita's, which is our larger restaurant. People could, still social distance and get all the information. But of course, a lot of people were like, I don't even want to come out of my house. You know what I mean? And with good reason. So we tried to disseminate as much of that information, via emails as well. But basically, those who felt comfortable coming in, we sat them all down and said, hey, look, we're going to continue to pay your health insurance. We're going to, do everything in our power to stay open and to make sure that everyone has a job when they come back. I still feel comfortable and confident, saying that. I feel good that we'll be able to, but, there's still a lot of uncertainty, right? You know what I mean? Like 4 weeks into it, there's no sort of sense of exactly how this shit's gonna play out. So, but you know, we made sure to answer all their questions. We made sure to let them know that we were paying uh, a week of paychecks for them, so that you know that would hopefully tide them over to when unemployment kicked in. But yeah, I mean, we tried the best we could to put them at ease and let them know that we were there for them no matter what.
Yeah, and that's really all that you can do. And so, what's been the ongoing communication with the staff? Are you guys staying in touch with things for unemployment, giving them more resources, trying to keep them up to date? Because in our industry, we are really good at handling bad news. It's all day. Table 36, this,
Yeah.
food long on table 22, like, and we
Right.
figure shit out.
Right.
No news is scary for us.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
a hard thing.
When the like communication stops in the kitchen, you're like, something's wrong, right? Like what the fuck happened? So, nah, I hear you. I mean, really, we haven't been doing anything too formal in terms of communication. But if somebody needs help, somebody's got some unemployment questions, we answer them for them. We help them. We guide them through the process. We make sure they get their pay stubs. You know, if they need a computer, we'll loan them a computer. You know, that kind of stuff. Um, but really, it's more of like, hey, reach out to us if you need anything. And then there's a couple of them that we're particularly keeping an eye on because maybe they've got just they're a little bit more in need in some way.
Understood. All right. So that first shock kind of got everybody out of the restaurants, trying to support that initial phase. Once the shock wore off, you're a get shit done kind of guy, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So you kind of go into action mode. Talk about what that was like. Once you settled in, you said, okay, what do I do next? What were those first moments? Who are you talking to? What are you trying to activate? Who are you reaching out to and connecting with?
Well, we our Goose and Elder is our more casual concept, and that was the one that made sense to turn into a carryout, operation. So we just started figuring out logistically how we're going to make that happen. Luckily, we had a lot of things in place already. We were already are set up for online ordering. We already had Uber Eats, hooked in there. The food, travels well, so most of the menu is already stuff that we felt comfortable putting in a box. But then, really, it was about like who's going to work this, and so really it was our management team that we felt would be best equipped and the ones who would be willing, or I guess made the most sense to get them to stay on and take care of that.
And so how many of your team were you actually able to bring back or keep on to deliver on that?
It was only like 4 or 5 of us at first, and it's picked up a little bit. So we've been able to bring on another 2 or 3. So there's about 8 of us, working a 6-day rotation. So it's been kind of good to be able to keep a decent amount of people, collecting paychecks.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
It really makes a big difference. The paycheck for sure, but the morale. They need that. They need that moment. Every once in a while, they need a good stern talking to from Jose and a good rah speech pre-shift. Like they need that. So I can appreciate that. What's some of the things that you guys are cooking there? Because I'm sure that is like therapy for you personally and for the team being able to cook some of those items at Goose and Elder.
It's comfort food, and I think that's the stuff that people crave times like this, We've got everything from wings and burgers to like duck confit and bone marrow on the menu. So, but comfort food. Even our salads are like hearty and got lots of veggies in them, and just it's food that you crave when you're feeling a little bummed out, man. So it's fun to cook that food, and certainly cool for the guests to be able to have stuff like that you kind of like want to sink your teeth into.
Yeah, the kind of thing that sticks to your ribs a little bit and makes you feel like you're one with the couch. I'm feeling that a lot for sure. Uh, yeah, I know working out and health is important to you. And so I got to admit to you, my first week, I was eating way too many carbs, man. It was just like, well, I bought 3 bags of chips. I guess I got to eat them all. And
I'm eating terrible. I'm eating horrible. My Facebook memories brought up a video from a year ago where I
saw that.
You saw that? And
where you're pounding the shit out of a giant tire. Yeah, I saw that.
I was in pretty good shape, man. And now I'm putting on the COVID-19. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm calling it. I probably gained about 10 pounds already. So.
I know it. After that first week, I started like meal planning again and trying to like focus and get a little bit more like keto centric is a lot of the stuff that we're trying to eat. Yeah. And then I started getting back into intermittent fasting and stuff. But it's challenging. It's like I have to like really, really fight against my instinct to just keep going to the fridge because it's like, what else am I doing?
I know.
So I feel that. All right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I was really struck by, and again, I mentioned this beginning, I was not surprised at all when I saw that you were really focusing on feeding people any way possible that you could feed people, supporting your staff internally, but then feeding people. And you connected with the Lee Initiative, Ed Lee from Louisville, amazing chef, doing really great things with their initiative. Lindsay, who's running that organization. Love for you to talk about just kind of why that organization was important to you, kind of what Ed and Lindsay are doing to kind of lead out there in your area, in that region, and then what specifically you guys are doing to support that and to get people fed.
Yeah, cool. So for people who aren't aware, the Lee Initiative is a nonprofit that was centered around uplifting women in our industry. So helping chefs, female chefs, advance in their careers. And they had a mentorship program where 5 mentees would be mentored by a very sort of prominent female chef. So really small, right? I mean, literally 5 mentees, Lindsay and Ed doing pretty much everything. As soon as the closures came down, they both said, you know what, we gotta pivot. We gotta do something. We gotta help feed people. And they had sort of had a model for it because during the TSA shutdown, they had kind of mobilized and started feeding some of those folks. So there was some sort of a model that they could build on. So they were able to like get that shit up and running real fast. Nice. I think they started like immediately, like March 15th, they were like, let's go. They called me on March 17th, I think it was, and was like, hey, are you down? And my immediate response was, yeah, like, do it. Let's do it. Hey, boom, let's go. So Maker's Mark was instrumental in getting all this off the ground. They are their sponsor, the sponsor of the Lee Initiative. And they had all these marketing dollars that weren't going to be used up. They're who are they marketing to if everything's closed down? So so they were nice enough to allocate a lot of those funds towards getting this program up and off the ground. So I think it was Louisville, DC, and then Cincinnati, and I think now it's in like 14 cities all over the country. So what it is it's basically a restaurant workers relief program that feeds folks in our industry every night, 7 days a week. We do it from 4 to 7 p.m., but each restaurant has, sort of their own specific hours. And we're also providing some essential needs, whether it be canned goods, rice, beans, diapers, formula, you name it, whatever stuff people need. You got
any fucking toilet paper?
We do. We do, man. I mean,
toilet paper hoarders. You know what? The only thing that I hoarded was rice because I'm like, if it really goes long and you can't get anything and everything shuts down, I can eat rice. You're not going to eat any fucking toilet paper, people. Anyway, that's a whole nother rant, but I love that. So you're on top of just food, it's just supporting their livelihood, their wellness at this time.
Yeah, man. So it was like an amazing thing to be able to, because we're in the hospitality industry. We take care of people, and when you don't have that outlet, I think I'm fortunate in a way. I still get to do what I love to do. I get to help people. I get to feed people. I get to interact with humans, even albeit from a distance. But and in my staff, they, like you said, the morale, there's an uplifting quality to that. So many of our colleagues are at home.
Yeah.
We're cooking more at home, right? So that's the one thing, right? We're all getting to do what we love at home, but there's something to be said for being in a restaurant or being there and feeding folks and taking care of people, and especially our colleagues, our coworkers, those who are in need, um, and and they are the last ones to ask for help too, right?
Always.
So it's even more, I guess. There's more meaning behind it, because when they're coming to that door to get a box of food, that they're doing it because they're genuinely in need, so it's a little bit sad in some ways, but it's also really rewarding in other ways too.
Yeah, the how polarizing that moment is something that we're really having to reflect on right now.
Yeah, man.
Because even unemployment, so many, I mean, I have fielded over 1,000 different interactions over the last almost 3 weeks about unemployment alone, and sharing information and things, because in our industry, especially, we don't understand unemployment because there's another job right down the street, and so it's been a real struggle. And then also, we took us a minute to figure out the technology this morning. We are so used to face-to-face interaction. This is the new face-to-face interaction. And so to go into a system where, like, say, unemployment or trying to get yourself fed, it feels very inhumane. It's very disconnected from hospitality. Exactly. And so it's a real struggle, not just financially and knowing where the resources are, but just in the DNA of how we interact on the day-to-day. And so it's compounded. So I appreciate that you're being thoughtful about it and making people feel when they come there that they're getting a meal that they are so appreciated, that you're repaying the hospitality, I think is really important. And that's the thing that struck me about the Lee Initiative. It feels very much like a community in a different way. It doesn't feel like I don't know, I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but like a soup kitchen that feels like you're destitute. It's really like, no, we got to take care of each other in this moment because they have paid that hospitality into the system so many times over.
Absolutely. I love that you put it that way. I mean, if anyone's earned a free meal, so to speak, it's the folks that grind it out in restaurants every day feeding others.
Damn right. And I mean, think about it. Like, how many we cook some of the best food, yet we eat cold food standing up, right? Like, and now to have a moment where, family meal is such an important part of it, to take a second and like sit down. But even that, half the time you just take it back to your station because you're in the weeds and you can't get prepped in time. And so you're still not doing that. Now giving them a hot meal and saying, go home and eat this, with your loved ones, I think is an important thing. And so I tagged the link so people can check that out. Make sure and go check out the Lee Initiative. If you are in the areas, the cities like Cincinnati, like Louisville, that have these initiatives, we'll get links to if there's specific ones in other cities and the restaurants that are participating. So we'll build out as much information in this thread as possible for people. And also, if you are a restaurateur in a city that's not currently a part of this initiative, definitely reach out because they clearly have that repeatable model that you can stamp out and activate really quickly, which is important because everyone's trying to help. And a lot of times we're struggling to figure out exactly how to execute the logistics and infrastructure. The Lee Initiative, to your point, they move fast, like really, really fast. And so talk about that a little bit, just the ability to like execute quickly, because you could have kind of pieced it together yourself, but you said, no, I'm going to jump on board with this because they have their shit together and I want to do things quickly. Like, talk about that part of it as far as the speed, knowing that chefs work at a clip for sure.
Right. I mean, it only made sense. Again, like I said, they had the model. There was no use in me trying to recreate something like that. And they reached out to me like immediately, before I could even think to do something of that nature, they called me and said, hey, this is what we're doing. So it never really occurred to me to go and try to do it any other way. It just made sense.
Yeah, I love it. They're showing that leadership, and we need leadership. To your point, you led with that.
Yeah.
We're seeing some leaders really rise, and I'm glad to hear that you're buying into everything that's happening from your leadership in your state, and other leadership is not so much, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And so what I'm really, really interested in now is you're in this moment. You've gotten through that first wave, the pain and struggle of having to lay off so many people. You got a few people back to work. Now you're doing, like you said, you're fortunate. You're doing what you're compelled to do, and you're feeding people, giving them hospitality, even if you can't give them a multi-course meal and high-touch hospitality. You're still giving them that feeling of being taken care of.
Sure.
What happens next? As you're thinking about, I know you're a very thoughtful guy. You're thinking about, you have 96 employees, you have 3 restaurants, you have a community that's hurting and behind you at the same time. What are some thoughts that you have as far as, like, we're going to have to rethink a little bit about how we come out of this? What are those couple thoughts that you have?
Jensen, honestly, I can't answer that, man. I feel like, and that's not just me like trying to avoid your question.
I think it's important. Yeah.
So much fucking uncertainty, man. I don't know. I don't really, it's going to be a gradual, opening up of stuff throughout the country, as opposed to a light switch being turned back on, as some of the leaders would suggest. It's not, you don't just snap your fingers and everything goes back to normal. So I don't know. I mean, again, Governor DeWine has been really good about making those smart choices for us. And I think we're going to, not that we have an option, but we have to kind of follow his lead and see, what that means. I don't know that reopening with tables being 6 feet apart is going to make sense. It certainly didn't seem to work before the closure. I don't know that this like sort of half operating restaurant is the way to go. But maybe it is. Maybe we've figured out, people have understood social distancing better now 4 or 6 or 8 weeks later, that they get that the tables need to be separated by a certain distance. But, there's so many literally moving parts. There's so many people coming and going in a restaurant that I don't know that you can keep people apart, really. You have to pour people's water. You got to be right on top of them. It's just, I don't know. I don't really know what that looks like. And I wouldn't want to guess, because I'd probably be getting it wrong. I'm not in the medical field, and I don't know exactly what it's going to take to make everyone, be safe and continue to go back to operating, as we did, or some sort of level of normalcy, right?
Yeah. I really appreciate your answer, because to your point, you don't have an answer for it. And that is the process that we're going through of all this, of just struggling through figuring it out.
Yeah.
That is the answer. Like, that's the only answer that we have. And I appreciate, because you're so thoughtful. Again, this is why I want to ask the question, is like, you don't know, you're not going to pretend to know. You're not going to like try and control the situation because you can. Like, you're just going to be thoughtful and think about what the professionals are saying and how to take care of your people. And so that was exactly the right answer, Jose.
Thank you. But, I mean, when we talk about our leaders and how, there's this one in particular who comes out and sort of pretends like he's got the right answers, or like he knows, and he's giving you these definitive, or near, it's as if there's clarity as to what's going to, and there isn't that. And I think it's doing a disservice to my staff if I tell them, like, hey, in 2 weeks, this is exactly how we're going to operate. And this is, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. Like, first of all, they lose faith in me. They, think I'm full of shit. And those who didn't would be, they'd have a false sense of security. So, why am I going to do that to them. It's just not fair, you know. I have to be smart in my decision making for them,
Yeah.
for our guests, to make sure that everyone's safe, right?
Yeah, and the level of transparency and clarity, you mentioned that word, I like that word a lot. And communication is going to have to be key because your staff is going to be chomping at the bit to get back. But you got to know that they're going to be concerned. They're not going to know exactly how to do. They're going to not know exactly how to operate. It's going to be awkward and uncomfortable. We're going to have to relearn how to operate within the restaurant. And then on the other side of the equation, guests are going to be freaked out about everything, you know, and are you wearing gloves and masks when you walk to a table, to your point of like pouring water? Does that feel like hospitality, or is it because you're very thoughtful and trying to be respectful of people's insecurities? I don't know. You don't know what people are, how they're going to react. And so I think it's going to be a slow process and you're going to have to earn back trust. And I think the more communication that you have and transparency, you know, like I want to see videos showing guests exactly the sanitation processes that you are going through and how those fit the expectations of the actual experts.
Right.
And, you know, that kind of transparency, is that going to help? I don't know. Like none of us really know, but
I don't think it's
going to be a
hurt.
different level of expectation for sure.
Certainly isn't going to hurt, right? I mean, the more transparent you are, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think the open kitchen concept is going to become more and more important, even if you don't have an open kitchen. The idea of open is going to become that everybody gets to see how the sausage is made, because everybody is insecure about how the sausage is made and needing to know that that it's safe for them. And, you know, so, I mean, I imagine that there'll be bathroom attendants that will go and fully sterilize a bathroom after every single guest walks in there. Like that's super weird, yet probably people would appreciate that, you know? And I don't know. It's just like, these are the things, these are the crazy things that this industry is going to have to think about, and many industries, especially again, when it is so interpersonal, it's so intimate, it's so high touch. So I appreciate that you're struggling through it, because I know a lot of people are, and it's hard when we kind of are masters of our own universe to struggle through that. All right. Complete 180. Give us some positivity, because you are a super energetic, positive dude. I'm excited to see your next workout video, because I'm pretty sure you're doing it today or tomorrow. Now that memory came up, and we're calling each other out on our lack of fitness right now. But what are some playlist items, some things you're watching to, listening to, reading, playing with the kids, anything to kind of keep those moments of levity right now? Give us something to consume.
So I got a new car a few months ago, and it came with Sirius XM radio, and that's exciting because it's got all my old school hip hop stations. You know,
I knew it.
The LL Cool J station is the one I've been listening to like crazy. It's called Rock the Bells station, and so every you know opportunity I get, so I'm listening to all that old school stuff and reminiscing, you know, and somehow that makes me feel better, going back to a time when I was, you know, a kid and there was less worries in the world, right? At least for me. I mean, not that.
Yeah, no doubt.
1980 didn't have its fair share of problems. You know, there was an epidemic going on back then too that I think some of us maybe forget about. But certainly, you know, for me as a kid, those are good times. So that's cool. Getting to play with my kid and my wife a lot more. We've been so we wanted to do a puzzle. We didn't have any puzzles, and we asked the neighbors if we could borrow some. And they gave us a couple, and we got the biggest one that they gave us. You know, it was like 2,500 pieces or something. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Enormous amount of pieces. We get them all laid out on the table, and we start putting the border together. And we, after about 45 minutes, realize that there's got to be pieces missing because we can't even get the border. So that was fun and frustrating, but still, like, whatever. I mean, we just hung out and we wasted 45 minutes together, but we got to chill and talk to each other. So that was fun. I mean, we've been playing board games, watching all kinds of. We've been watching Police Academy movies.
Oh, right.
That's another throwback. I forgot how politically incorrect Police Academy was.
Oh, yeah, man.
Man, I was like, oh, did they say that? Like, what? Like, it's homophobic and misogynistic and racist on some levels, but all that aside, there's a lot of funny shit in there too. That's been kind of
All those 80s slapstick, man, were completely inappropriate.
way inappropriate, and I forgot.
And totally hilarious.
35 years. I was like, oh man, like you can't say that. That's not cool.
It's funny because it was never cool, but at one point it was pretty funny, but it was never cool.
It was never cool, but I think we didn't realize how uncool it was. Like you mean, like you just sort of like, but yeah. Anyways, it's
It's like, have we gotten too PC, or have we just evolved and like recognized our own stupidity for sure? I'm gonna go listen to some old school hip hop right now. I'm gonna listen to some Killer Bees. That was like early for me for sure. I know for you, growing up in Queens and New York, like that was like lifestyle for sure. You were just looking to get you.
I mean, it was hip hop. It was the music. It was
cassette tape to listen to the latest mixtape.
Yo, you'd have to tape if you wanted to record something. You'd put a piece of tape over the edge of the cassette, and that gave you that was the original, mixtape.
Oh man, that's it. I remember my first Walkman when we lived in Long Beach, and I'd be cruising down to down Junipero, Sarah, going to get some chicken at El Pollo Loco. Listen to my Walkman with my hip hop. I remember all of it. I love it, man.
Nice.
See, I knew we were going to end on some positivity. I feel good. I'm going to listen to hip hop. I'm going to go try and find a giant tire to beat the shit out of with a hammer like you do, a sledgehammer.
Do it.
I really appreciate it. Jose, it was amazing to see you today, hearing your voice, the leadership that you're going to show through recognizing that you don't have all the answers. And I think that's such an important part of leadership. And I appreciate it.
But even though if I don't have the answers, I'm not going to give up, man. I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna push hard. I'm gonna be there, and I gotta be strong for my staff and for everybody around me, man. So that's I find solace in that. It's something that I kind of relish it, especially maybe because I'm an old man and I gotta be a father figure to some of these people.
That's it, man. Your community is behind you. I know your staff and your team's behind you. The fam's behind you. I'm Cincy proud today. Denver, we're behind you. The whole industry, man. We're in this together, man, for sure. I'm truly grateful for the conversation, my friend. Have a great day. Go play with that kid. Go listen to some 90s music and go work out, homie.
All right, you too, man. Be good.
All right, be good. Yes, Jose Salazar. Cincinnati, an amazing, amazing city. When we went there on Brew Food Tour a few years ago, as I mentioned, Brandon Muncie and I traveled out there. We did events in Louisville as well as Cincinnati and road tripped between the two. And unbelievable city. The vibe, the energy, OTR, Over the Rhine, which was kind of the ghetto, like one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the country for many, many years, has flourished in this really great little scene, tons of restaurants, bars, pubs, all kinds of fun stuff going on there. Rheingeist Brewery is there as well. And so we got to hang out there, had a lot of fun, was very, very impressed with Cincinnati, with Jose. His just energy was amazing. He was such a ambassador for that city. We just had a ton of fun. And so when I saw that he was jumping on board with the Lee Initiative, hustling, he's a hustler, working hard to make sure that people were taken care of, people were fed, that they were still feeling that love, that hospitality that is in him and is in so many in this industry. So I was really grateful for that. Okay, tomorrow's episode, I am excited to hear a little bit about what's happening in New York. Excited and a little nervous, as New York, I know, has been hit really, really hard, and have several friends up there in the industry that are struggling. Joshua Bernstein was a prolific beer journalist and author. He's written the Drink Better Beer book, which just came out recently. And I was grateful that he gave Brewed Food and the work that we've done with the craft beer community and and blurring the lines between brewing and cooking in that book. So that was really, really cool, exciting to get that in there because he's an amazing writer. He also wrote the complete IPA book and a few other great beer books. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about what's happening with him and kind of being somebody who, as a journalist, is always looking through the lens of the zeitgeist of what's happening at any time and moment in culture, in food and beverage, and what he's seeing from his perspective on the industry in this moment, and then potentially how he sees brands within that navigating the space and also just what happens next. So excited about that. He'll be on tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. That is noon on the East, 9 a.m. on the West. Thank you as always for the opportunity. I'm excited to be able to continue to share these stories. There's so many moments of heartache as well as inspiration in these. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity and to be able to talk to Jose. Awesome. It's going to be a good day. Anytime I get to talk to that guy, he's a true inspiration. So appreciate everyone. Have a great day. Cheers.